Good afternoon. So in yesterday's class, we were talking about the free space propagation model by using the Friis free space equation. And we have already got one relation, that is PR at a distance of D in terms of PR at a distance of D0. Okay. As well as one more equation that we have, that is nothing but the path loss in decibels in terms of the antenna gain, then the distance between the transmitter and receiver, as well as the wavelength. And we have also seen the Fraunhofer distance. Fraunhofer distance is nothing but the minimum distance that we need to maintain to install a receiver apart from the transmitter, so that we will be able to estimate the received power. Okay. If the distance is much less than the Fraunhofer distance, means we won't be able to predict the exact power level at the receiver side. So we should be very careful that in this free space propagation model, we are able to find the exact power level of the received signal only if the distance at the receiver is much greater than the Fraunhofer distance. Now, going to the next topic, that is propagation mechanisms. I told you yesterday that we can't ensure that the transmitter and receiver is always there is having a line of sight communication between each other. But in fact, there are many obstacles in between which is contributing to multipath fading, because of which the transmitted radio waves will be undergoing different paths, and thereafter at the end of the receiver, it will be accumulating, or it will be contributing to the fading. Means the power level of the receiver signal will continuously decreases as and when the transmitter and receiver is very far apart from each other. So here you can see that instead of a line of sight communication, some waves are impinging on obstacles, and finally they are reflecting back to the receiver. Okay, so there are basically three propagation mechanisms that we have is contributing to mobile radio communication systems. The first one is reflection, second one is diffraction, and third one is scattering. Basically, all these three are propagation mechanisms that will be contributing in the mobile radio communication systems. Because when we take a real scenario of an urban environment, we will have so many obstacles in between, like towers, buildings, then street lights, everything. So all these will contribute towards unwanted reflections, diffractions, and scatterings that will result in multipath propagation. The concept behind multipath propagation is that because of the scattering, diffraction, and reflection, the radio waves will be traveling through different paths, and ultimately they will be reaching at the receiver. Finally, because of the cumulative effect, we will have a less power at the receiver. That is what is called multipath fading. So this is very important question for your CIE. What are the different propagation mechanisms, and explain each. First one, we will go to the reflection. Okay, reflection part. As you can see, reflection is nothing but a type of propagation mechanisms of electromagnetic wave in which this EM wave will get impinged on an object. That is, after touching this particular object, it will be returning back to the same medium. That is what is called reflection. Okay, that is, it impinges on an object which has very large dimension as compared to the wavelength, and ultimately because of the reflection effect, the electromagnetic wave will return back to the original medium from which it has transmitted through. Suppose this is transmitting in air, in between it finds an obstacle and it impinges on the obstacle, and later what happens is that the electromagnetic wave is getting rebounds back to the same medium. That is what is called reflection. But there should be one condition for this reflection to happen. There should be one condition for this reflection to happen. The condition is that the surface on which the electromagnetic wave is impinging, that should has a very large dimension when compared to the wavelength of the object. So compared to the wavelength of the object, the surface of the wavelength of the radio frequency that we are transmitting compared to the radio frequency, the dimension of the object on which this RF waves are touching or RF waves are impinging, that should have a larger dimension than the wavelength of the RF waves that we are transmitting. This is what is the concept of reflection. As you can see in the previous slide, some of the radio waves that are transmitting from the transmitter is not going in a line of sight manner. Instead of that, it is impinging on some surfaces or some obstacles, and later it is returning back to the same medium. And the thing is that the dimension of these obstacles should be very large when compared to the wavelength of the signal that you are transmitting. Okay, so probably the surface of the earth can be considered as a reflecting surface. Okay, because since it is a conductor, you can assume that the surface of the earth is a conductor. So a part of the wave that is impinging on the surface of the earth will get absorbed by the earth, and another part will get reflected. It is not a pure conductor as well. So a few portion of the radio waves that is touching on these buildings or on the surface of the earth, it will reflect back as well as it will get absorbed by the surface. That is a concept behind reflection. This is one of the propagation mechanisms that we have. Second propagation mechanism is diffraction. So all these propagation mechanisms will come under non-line of sight propagation, because there is no, that is a transmitter and the receiver is not able to see with each other. Okay, in between you're having many obstacles, buildings, surface of the earth, and street light, like that. Many objects of different dimensions and different types of surfaces are there. So because of this, we'll have three different propagation mechanisms, that is reflection, diffraction, and scattering. I told the condition of reflection. The condition of reflection is that the dimension of the surface should be very large when compared to the wavelength of RF frequencies, whatever we are trying to transmit. Second one is diffraction. The diffraction will occur between the transmitter and receiver only if the surface on which this RF waves is impinging is very sharp. That is, they are having some sort of sharp irregularities at the edges. They should have some sort of sharp edges. This will allow the diffraction. You know what is diffraction? You know the concept behind diffraction, right? The wave diffraction. That is, one wave will get impinged on a one particular surface. Then from that particular point, you will have many number of wavelets. Each and every wavelets will be contributing towards disturbances in the environment, and it will again create many waves that will be propagating in different directions. That is what is called a diffraction. Okay, so the diffraction will occur with a condition. The condition is that the surface is having some sharp kind of edges, sharp irregularities, which is contributing towards a multipath environment. Why multipath environment? Because the wave that is impinging on one surface will produces multiple wavelets. These multiple wavelets again will create disturbances in the environment, maybe the air molecules. Again, from that another, another sort of wavelets will occur. Okay, so like that, many waves will be traveling in different directions, and ultimately they are reaching at the receivers. And third type of mechanism is scattering. In the scattering process, you can see that the surface on which this particular RF frequencies are impinging, their size should be very small. That is a difference between reflection and scattering. The reflection is nothing but it will get returned back to the original medium in one way. There is no more than multiple number of reflections will not take place from single point. That is what is a peculiarity of reflection. Whereas when we go for scattering, because of the smaller size of that particular obstacle, the wave that is being impinged on the surface will get scattered in different directions. There will be more than one scattered waveform that you can observe. Okay, so some smaller objects that you can see in the real-time environment are the street signs, the street lights, then signboards. So these and all we can consider as the smaller objects which is contributing towards scattering. Even some kind of metal objects that you can found in the roadsides. Okay, so all these will contributing towards a scattering. Buildings will contribute towards a reflection. Okay, so these are the three different propagation mechanisms that contributes in the mobile communication or radio communication system. So first we'll go for reflection. You know what is reflection? Reflection will occur when a radio wave that is propagating in one medium impinges upon another medium having different electrical properties. That is what is reflection. See, when you consider building as an obstacle, building is having different electrical property, whereas air is having different electrical property. So you have an interface between your second medium and first medium, isn't it? So there is an electrical property difference, or there is a separation between the two medium. So whenever a wave that is traveling from one medium to another medium touches a second medium, what will happen is because of the change in electrical properties, it is getting reflected back to the same medium. But we can't say that the entire signal, whatever we have transmitted, will reflect back to the same medium itself. Okay, some part of the energy only gets reflected back, other part of the energy is getting transmitted. What do you mean by transmitted? Means it will be penetrating through the second medium. Okay, so some part of the energy will get reflected back from the obstacle. The other medium or the other part of the energy, it will be going or it will be penetrating towards the second medium. Okay, so these are the two parts of radio frequency, whatever we have transmitted. One part will get reflected back to the same original medium, and second part will get transmitted or penetrate through the second medium. So here you can notice that there exists a change of direction. Suppose it is coming in one direction, after reflection, what will happen? Of course, there exists a change of direction. Apart from the change of direction of the radio waves, there exists an interaction between the waves and the boundary. Boundary means that separation. Okay, there is a layer that's separating the first medium and second medium. So there exists the interaction of radio waves between those boundaries, and that causes the energy to split between the reflected and transmitted waves. It is because of that reason, because of the interaction of the wave with the particles, it is causing this kind of splitting of energy in among the reflected and transmitted waves. Okay, so as of now only we had one kind of radio wave that is transmitting from the transmitter, but once it interact with this medium, that is second medium or the obstacle, what will happen is some sort of energy will get diverted. Okay, so it will be contributing towards a reflected wave, as well as the other part will be contributing towards transmitted waves. Both are useful actually. Transmitted wave is useful because if the receiver is inside the obstacle, suppose if the receiver is inside the building, of course the transmitted wave is going to deliver the service for us, right? So like that, both the transmitted as well as the reflected waves are useful for us. Now, how this amplitude of reflected waves and transmitted waves can be combined? Because we need to, we need to know the amplitude levels of both the waves. Okay, because only if we know the nature of the reflected waves and transmitted waves, then only we will be able to find the power level at the receiver. Because the power level at the receiver's mobile is useful for the MSC also to perform the handoff or other processes as well. Okay, so it is the, it is a responsibility of the MSC as well as the base station as well as the receiver mobile together to predict the power level received at the receiver's terminal. So for that, what he has to do, he has to find the electric field intensity, because you know that in electromagnetic wave, you are having both electric field as well as magnetic field that is coexisting in a perpendicular directions to each other, isn't it? Both electric field as well as magnetic field, they exist in the perpendicular manner. Okay, if electric field is traveling in one direction means, or in x direction means, the other one will be in the y direction. Okay, the magnetic field will be in the y direction. They will be always mutually perpendicular to each other. So we need to find the amplitude of the electric field corresponding to the transmitted wave and corresponding to the reflected wave, so that they can be related to each other. Okay, so both the reflected and transmitted waves are carefully analyzed so that their amplitudes can be found out, and later they can be related together or related each other to find a term which is called as reflection coefficient. Okay, since Fresnel named scientists researched over this particular area, it is called a Fresnel reflection coefficient. So what is reflection coefficient? It's nothing but a relation between the amplitude of the reflected wave as well as transmitted waves. Okay, so based upon this reflection coefficients only, we are trying to predict how much energy has been utilized for reflected waves and how much energy has been splitted for the transmitted wave. Because the incoming energy, it is being splitted among two factors. One factor is gone for the transmission, the other factor is gone for the reflection. Why it has happened? Because there is no line of sight communication in between the transmitter and the receiver. We are having many obstacles that is contributing towards the propagation or contributing towards the reflection. Yeah. And why reflection happened? Because the obstacle size is very large when compared to the wavelength of the signal that we have transmitted. So whenever the obstacle's dimension is very large, like that of a building, then only these kind of reflections will happen. And what do you mean by reflection? When an RF wave impinges on a surface, a part get transmitted or penetrated into the second medium, the other part will get returned back to the original medium itself. This process is called reflection. Hope it is clear for you. And why you want to find the reflection coefficient? Because we need to find the amount of energy that is being contributed for the transmission and the remaining portion of energy that is being contributed for the reflection. Clear? Now here, this is the main property of an electromagnetic wave that you have. You know that in an electromagnetic wave, you will have an electric field and magnetic field. Based upon that, we can say there are two kinds of polarization. One polarization is vertical and the second one is horizontal polarization. You need to understand the concept of these two. Okay, what do you mean by vertically polarized wave? See, from this figure, it is evident that both electric and magnetic field components are perpendicular to each other. Are you able to understand that? Both electric field and magnetic fields are perpendicular to each other. But vertically polarized wave means that the direction of electric field vector should be perpendicular to the direction of propagation. You assume that a wave is propagating, okay, and it has a particular direction of propagation. And with respect to that direction, you try to draw one vector across or along the direction of propagation. Then perpendicular to this direction of propagation, you draw another vector. Then the second vector will be the direction of electric field. In that case, we can say that the electromagnetic wave is vertically polarized. Clear? Now, horizontally polarized wave means that the electric field vector will be parallel to the direction of propagation. In that case, it is known as horizontally polarized wave. So there are two kinds of polarized waves, vertically and horizontally polarized wave. How does polarization happen? Because it is being transmitted by the antenna. Antenna only converted electrically into electromagnetic wave. So it depends on the terminals of the antenna or the polarity of the antennas or the dipole components, which is going to establish the polarization, or it is going to impart the polarization to the incoming signal. So after polarization, either it will be horizontally polarized or it will be vertically polarized. That depends. Vertical polarization means, I repeat, the electric field vector will be perpendicular to the direction of propagation, whereas in the horizontal polarization means the electric field vector will be parallel to the direction of propagation as shown. This you might have studied in EMF. Now coming to this part, so this is a little bit analytic, okay. Uh, our objective is, you should be very clear about the derivations objective. Our objective is to find the expression for reflection coefficient. Okay, the reflection coefficient will get you the fraction of it will be a fraction. Okay, so that fractional component will let you the actual amount of energy that is being contributed for both the phases, means for both the transmitted wave as well as the reflected wave. For example, the total energy you have, out of the total energy, maybe 50% is contributed for the transmission, 50% is contributed for the reflection. Okay, transmission means, you know the concept of transmission. Transmission means after impinging on the surface, it is penetrating towards the second medium. Reflection means it is returning back to the same medium. Clear? So here I have shown two distinct cases. Okay, assume that this is the boundary that separates the two medium. Assume that this is a boundary that separates the two medium, and this is not a conductor, which means that it is a dielectric medium. Okay, there can be a conductor case also, a perfect conductor case also, that I will tell later. But as of now, you assume that the surface that is impinging, the electromagnetic wave that is impinging on the surface, that particular surface is, as of now, it is not a pure conductor, means it will be a dielectric. Okay, so we are now calculating the reflection coefficient between the two dielectrics. Means you are having a medium above the boundary and you are having another medium which is below the boundary. And I have mentioned three quantities: epsilon 1, mu 1, sigma 1. I have mentioned three physical quantities above the separation and below the separation. I hope you can see that: epsilon 1, mu 1, sigma 1. Similarly, below the separation, you have epsilon 2, mu 2, and sigma 2. Kindly note down all these three. Take your notebook and pen. Write down the parameters you are going to derive things. Okay. So kindly spend half an hour on this derivation. So epsilon 1 is known as electrical permittivity. Mu 1 is known as permeability. That corresponds to magnetic field. Permittivity corresponds to electric field. Okay. Sigma is the conductivity. So you have the permeability and conductivity. Epsilon. What is epsilon? Electrical permittivity. Permittivity, permeability, and conductivity for both first medium as well as second medium. Okay. Now you have a wave that is coming in this particular direction. Okay. Suppose here you have an antenna. Here you have an antenna. So from this antenna, some sort of signal is being transmitting. So maybe it is a directive antenna. That's why it is coming like this. And it is impinging on this particular surface with an angle theta I with respect to the horizontal. So theta I can be called as angle of incidence. Then what will happen is, because of this particular property of this dielectric material, a part of this energy will get reflected back, the other part will get transmitted. So this is ET. ET means electric field corresponding to the transmitted wave. EI means electric field corresponding to incident wave. ER means electric field corresponding to reflected wave. Okay, incident, reflected, and transmission. And in this first figure, that is figure number A, you can see that electric field is in the plane of incidence. Please note, plane of incidence. What do you mean by plane of incidence? Plane of incidence is nothing but a plane which is having a normal, then that horizontal surface. Okay. Plane of incidence is a plane that is having your electric field, or that electric field lines. Then you have that normal as well as your surface on which this electromagnetic wave gets impinged. So electric field in the plane of incidence means the electric field is parallel to the plane of incidence. At the same time, HI, that is, you assume that the book of your paper or the laptop screen is your plane. Okay. Then parallel to that plane, EI component exists. Parallel to the book or your paper or the laptop screen, you can assume that EI will be your electric field. Whereas HI means what? HI will be perpendicular. That is what I have shown here, dotted. Dotted means perpendicular to the paper or perpendicular to this plane of incidence. This is HI. Okay. So this can be considered as a reflection scenario where the electric field is in the plane of incidence. Whereas here you can see in the second figure, you can see electric field is perpendicular to the plane of paper, because I have shown dot for E only. Okay, here electric field is perpendicular or normal to the plane of incidence. At the same time, magnetic field means H. Magnetic field is in the plane of incidence, whereas electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence in the second case. Okay. And you have theta I, as I told you, it is angle of incidence. Theta R is the angle of reflection, and theta T is the angle of transmission. Everything is measured with respect to opposite x-axis. Everything is measured with respect to x-axis, means your incident plane. Okay. And please keep it in mind, our objective is to find the reflection coefficient with respect to these two cases. Okay, so both parallel electric field case as well as perpendicular electric field case, for both cases we are going to find the reflection coefficient. And what do you mean by reflection coefficient? Reflection coefficient is nothing but it is a fraction that relates the electric field components of transmitted wave and incident wave. Okay, because a part of the incident wave is getting transmitted, other part is getting reflected. So these three components, EI, ET, and ER, are going to be related, and that particular relation is defined by a reflection coefficient. By observing the reflection coefficient, we will be able to judge that this much amount of energy has been spent for reflection and remaining has contributed for transmission, or a fraction of incoming wave has got reflected, the other part only got transmitted inside the second medium, so that we are able to judge with respect to particular coefficient, which is called as reflection coefficient, that we are going to analyze for two different cases. First case is electric field in the plane of incidence or parallel to the plane of incidence. Second case is electric field perpendicular to the plane of incidence. Okay. Any doubts? I will try to share the next screen. Okay, so the screen is visible for you? Is the screen is visible for you?
Yes, sir.
So I told you, first we will write the equation for gamma parallel. It is not gamma 1 it is gamma parallel. Gamma parallel. Gamma suffix parallel. Parallel line, two parallel lines. Gamma is nothing but reflection coefficient, which is nothing but the ratio of electric field intensity of the reflected wave to the electric field intensity of incident wave. So ER by EI. So out of total electric field that is being incident or impinged on the plane, a few of radiations is being reflected. So correspondingly, you need to calculate the numerator, that's ER. So this value of ER will depend on the type of the medium that you have taken as the obstacle. So in fact, it is depending on the intrinsic impedance. Type of surface or type of medium means it depends on the impedance, intrinsic impedance. That is nothing but eta. Intrinsic impedance is represented by eta. Okay, it is not mu, it is eta. Got the difference between mu and eta, the symbol you see. Mu is permeability, eta is intrinsic impedance that depends on the surface electrical property. Intrinsic impedance can be defined as square root of permeability by permittivity. Permeability by permittivity, square root of mu by epsilon. So for both cases, we need to find out. That is for medium 1 as well as medium 2, eta 1 as well as eta 2. So those eta 1 and eta 2 are put on the numerator and denominator, and we have arranged in such a way that this gamma parallel or ER by EI ratio is depending upon three factors. Mainly, one is intrinsic impedance, theta I and theta T. Theta I, theta T, and theta. This I have taken from your EMF. Okay, I'm not going for this particular derivation. But later, what I'm trying to do here is I need to rearrange theta T in terms of theta I, because which parameter is known for you other than eta? Eta you can find out. If you know the permeability and permittivity values, you will be able to find eta. Other than that, for a designer or for an analyzer of electromagnetic spectrum, who is going to, I mean, what parameter that you have is known for you? What parameter is known for you? Is it eta, is it theta T, or is it theta I? Which is known for you? Or which one you can measure directly? Theta I you can measure. Theta I is nothing but angle of incidence with respect to x-axis or the plane of incidence. Okay, theta T is something which is being penetrated towards the, I mean, towards the second medium, and it is very difficult to find. Okay, so here we are trying to find the relation between the reflection coefficient and theta I. That is, we need to maintain a proper reflection coefficient. Accordingly, we are trying to maintain theta I, because theta T is not in our control. Please keep it in mind. Theta T is not in our control. It depends on what? It depends on the surface of the obstacle. Obstacle can vary at any time. obstacle in between the transmitter and receiver, that is in the path, communication path can vary at any time. So theta t is not on our control, but definitely theta I can be in our control. Only thing is you need to tilt the antenna from the transmitting antenna. The signal is coming, the signal is impinging on the surface. Accordingly, only you are getting theta I. So it is our objective to find a relation between gamma parallel and theta I instead of theta t. So we are going to, our objective is to change this theta t in terms of theta I only. So it should come theta I only in this particular expression. Okay. And coming to the second equation. So take down this particular equation, equation number 1. This is gamma parallel. What do you mean by gamma parallel? Gamma parallel is a reflection coefficient for a parallel electric field case. Okay, that is electric field is in the plane of incidence. Similarly, you will go for gamma perpendicular. Gamma perpendicular is the reflection coefficient for electric field normal to the plane of incidence. So in this case, what is the difference? The only thing is that the position of theta I and theta 2 have interchanged. Here there will be theta I, the other case it will be theta t. I think we have an error in the denominator. This is theta t. Okay, kindly note the error and accordingly you write. This is theta t. Replace this as t. So eta 2 sine theta I plus eta 1 sine theta t. Just we have interchanged the theta and theta t, that will become gamma perpendicular. Here also you can see that the reflection coefficient is depending on theta I and theta t, but it is very difficult to optimize the parameter depending on theta t, because theta t is not in our hand. We can't control theta t. So the only thing is that to what angle reflection or to what extent the reflected or the signal has to be reflected, accordingly we are there to arrange theta I. So I need to get a function of reflection coefficient only on the basis of theta I. That is, with respect to theta I, how we will be able to adjust the two reflection coefficients so that we can distribute our energy properly. Understood? Suppose I am interested to propagate entire signals to propagate through the free space without transmission. That is, I am not allowing the signal to penetrate into the second medium. So in that case, theta I can be arranged accordingly. Reflection coefficient can be maintained accordingly, isn't it? ER by EI. ER will be maximum, EI will be least. It should be infinity only. Theta perpendicular and theta parallel should be huge. It should be very large. So likewise, we can control the value of reflection coefficient with the help of theta I. Got the significance of finding this particular equation? Any doubts why you are doing this particular derivation or what is the concept behind the derivation? That is controlling reflection coefficient with theta I. That is, you can change theta I accordingly, its angle of incidence accordingly, we will be able to adjust the reflection coefficient. Here, you need the entire reflection signal to be reflected into the medium means, then you can adjust theta I accordingly. That's all. Suppose you need some penetrations to the second medium because some of the receivers are inside the building. So in that case, we can focus few electric field intensity as ET also. Okay, some sort of transmission should happen. So in fact, what will happen? ER should be minimized. To increase ET, what you have to do? ER should be less because some of the field intensity should be contributed towards the transmitted wave, right? So in that case, the numerator ER should be less. So the remaining portion will be contributing to ET, transmitted wave. So that is equation number 1 and 2. Hope you have taken down. And kindly note that the last term is theta t, it's not theta I. So these are the two equations that we have. Now we are going to rearrange these two equations in terms of theta I alone, and we need to discard theta t. For this, we'll be using Snell's law. So we will access those about two equations later, and now we will switch on to Snell's law. Because from the Snell's law only, we are going to rearrange 1 and 2. You know that Snell's law. What is the basic definition of Snell's law? Basic or the fundamental equation of Snell's law. Other than that, the simple arrangement, can anybody tell? Simple arrangement of Snell's law. Just recollect from your PUC physics, +2 physics, or from your EMF. What is a simple equation of Snell's law? No idea.
Sir, N2 by N1 is equal to sine of theta r by theta I, sine theta I.
Okay. Sine theta I by theta r. No? Sine I by sine r is equal to N2 by N1. Okay. Sine I by sine, that is angle of incidence. Sine of the angle of incidence divided by sine of angle of reflection is equal to eta 2 divided by eta 1. That is intrinsic impedance ratios of the second medium divided by first medium. So that is with respect to angle of reflection and angle of incidence. But here we need the relation between angle of incidence and angle of transmission, because we are going to replace theta t, right? We need to modify theta t. So for that, I have taken this equation into consideration. So this is another way of expressing Snell's law in terms of theta I, theta t, permeability and permittivity. Okay, so root of mu1 epsilon 1. What is mu1? Permeability of first medium. Epsilon 1 is permittivity of first medium. Mu2 is permeability of second medium. Epsilon 2 is permittivity of second medium. Theta t is the angle of transmission. Theta is the angle of incidence. Parallelly, you write sine of 90 minus theta cos theta. Sine of 90 minus theta t is cos theta t. Then try to square on both sides. Take square on both sides. So that square root will get cancelled. And assume that mu1 is equal to mu2. That is, the two permeabilities are same. So this is a boundary condition or the special case that we are having. Assume that mu1 is equal to mu2. The permeabilities are same. That is, you can see that even if the surfaces are different, okay, even if we go from air to some other mediums like building or some electric post, still there is not much a change in permeability. It is always almost it is same, but there can be more change in permeability. I mean permittivity. So permeability we will assume same. In most of the practical scenarios that we have, or this obstacles cases that we have in our real life, the permeabilities will be more or less same. So we have assumed that the two separation or the two dielectrics are having same permeability but different permittivity. Okay. So I assumed mu1 equal to mu2. So the only parameter that we left is epsilon 1 in the left side and epsilon 2 in the right side. Then you take the square root on both sides. Rearrange it and find cos square theta t, because you're going to replace theta t, right? You may ask, sir, why you are finding cos square theta t? Because I told you the reflection coefficient should be a function of theta I alone. It is not the theta t who is going to determine the reflection coefficient. As a system designer, we should be able to control the reflection coefficient. So for that, the only parameter that we can optimize is theta I, because antennas configurations can be changed to control theta I. Accordingly, the reflection coefficient will change. So I should replace theta t. So I should find an equation for replacing theta t. So for that only I have took this Snell's law. So rearranging the Snell's law, you got cos square theta t as epsilon 1 cos square theta I divided by epsilon 2, equation number 3. Simple maths we are doing. Now you will take the first equation again. What was the first equation that you have? Tau parallel. Gamma parallel. Gamma parallel. What is gamma parallel? Reflection coefficient corresponding to electric field which is parallel to the plane of incidence. So in that equation 1, what you did is you are replacing this eta 2 and eta 1 with corresponding equations. You know what is eta 2? What is eta 2? Root of mu by epsilon. So eta 2 is root of mu 2 by epsilon. Eta 1 is root of mu 1 epsilon. Mu1 by epsilon. So for both the numerator and denominator, we are going to replace or modify equation number 1. So take that equation number 1 and you are modifying eta 2 and eta 1 in terms of mu1 and epsilon 1, that is permeability and permittivity. You know that eta is called intrinsic impedance. Intrinsic impedance is nothing but the square root of ratio of permeability to permittivity. So as you can see here, the two permeabilities are same. I assumed the special case. I told you the two dielectrics are having same permeability. Therefore, what will happen?